It's your host, Kevin Oldham, and we're back with another episode of Franchise My Business, a podcast for franchisors, hosted by franchisors. And I am super, super excited to welcome an amazing guest today, a gentleman who he's really taken some strides to level up his franchise system. He's still kind of early in his journey, and he's doing really, really good work to make sure that the houses that we all live in and that we buy are safe. It is my honor and privilege to welcome to the show today, Matt Rivera. He is the founder of the Inspection Boys with headquarters in New York. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's my pleasure. So I want to go back to kind of the beginning. So, you know, the entrepreneur's journey, and particularly the franchisor's journey, is a really cool story. Like, everybody always likes hearing about what it took to get to kind of today. So why don't we unpack that? Let's go back. I know that you started the Inspection Boys in 2017. Was that your first entrepreneurial journey?
It wasn't, but it was. So I worked for the power company. I was a lineman, and, you know, I traveled across the country doing line work, and it was a union job that was very good, money great. I couldn't complain about anything except the fact that we would go from feast to famine overnight. Yeah. You'd make a lot of money, big storms, and then you'd have no money. So I would say probably around 2013, 2014, right after Hurricane Sandy hit, I realized that I couldn't do it anymore with my family. You know, I would have a really good year and then I'd have a really bad year. So I was like, I want to do something on the side. You know, I started a couple little businesses, you know, building websites, carpet cleaning, you know, a couple little things. And then I slowly went into the home inspection business, which was about 2015.
Cool. Why home inspections?
So I love real estate.
Yeah.
I've been a fan of real estate. You know, every book you read is always about, you know, build wealth through real estate. And it kind of, in 2012, I bought a second home in Pennsylvania. Okay. And I didn't get a home inspection. And I remember buying the house and everything went wrong after I bought the house. Every single thing was wrong with the house. And for some reason, I remember talking to the real estate agent and him telling me, hey, you remember we gave you a home inspection even though you didn't pay for it because somebody else paid for it. So I went home, I printed it out. It was like 80 pages. And my life changed because I'm in New York. I'm going up there on the weekends, and I took this report. And every time I was going up there all week, I would kind of study what was in the report. So when I would go up there on the weekend, I'd fix what was there. So 2014, 2015, I was like, you know what? I really got a lot of value from that report. Yeah. And it looked like it was something that I could do. I learned a lot from it. So I was like, you know what? Let me look into it. And then I realized that the schooling wasn't too complicated and the business wasn't bad and the profit margins were there, you know, especially for me being a lineman at that time, something that I could do at night on the weekend. Hey, why don't I go make an extra $400 or $500?
Right. That's awesome. So you started it's kind of cool because you know, you got that hit list, the punch list, basically on your investment property. You're like, hey man, like, this is kind of a cool report to go dig through, and then exactly. That got you into. It's always kind of wild, like, what the scenarios are that cause an entrepreneur to go, hey, like, I want to go do this, like, I want to solve this problem, or I want to go into this business, and you just never know what's going to happen, right? Serendipity.
Exactly. And I mean, that started it. And, you know, and then from that point on, I got my home inspection license and I enjoyed it. And then all of a sudden I started doing more work and I started realizing that, hey, I might be able to make as much money as I'm making being a lineman, or at least have enough time off that I could at least, you know, in my mind, make up for the difference in the money I was going to make.
Yeah.
So 2015, I think I got my license. And by 2016, I was already talking about quitting.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so what I also love, man, is that you kind of founded your business out of a need to stay true to your family and make sure that, your family's economics are taken care of and all of those things. Right. And that's,
yes, it's funny because, it's the entrepreneur's life. Like you say, hey, I want to start a business to work less and be home with my family more. And then I don't know if they'd agree with that.
Yeah. Even now, right? I mean, you go from feast or famine in terms of storms coming, getting to repair some lines to, being in a mentorship perspective of other people that are flying the flag of your brand. Like, how did you, do you have mentoring in your background? Have you ever been like a coach or anything like that? Or you just love helping people?
So it's kind of crazy too, because 2017, I met a guy that had another franchise and he wanted to franchise in the home inspection business. And we decided, hey, let's do it. That's when the Inspection Boys was started.
Okay.
Me quitting my job, I also started a home inspection school.
Cool.
So I figured, all right, I'm going to start a home inspection school. I'm going to start a franchise. I'm going to go all in. It evolved really fast. Within the first year, the guy that I had partnered with, his other franchise took off. He was at like 60, 70 locations. He was like, I don't want to do nothing with the home inspections. So I had to take it on with my partners at that point. And the school started taking off. So the school kind of helped me learning how to mentor and talk to people and really understand the business because, each year that I was teaching, I would have 100 or 200 people come through and I'd see why they were failing over and over, and most of the time they weren't failing because they weren't good home inspectors. They were failing because they didn't know how to run a business. And that was like the key to everything. It wasn't that they couldn't go out and inspect the home. It was that they didn't understand marketing. They didn't understand all the stuff that you don't learn in school was the stuff that they weren't good at.
Yeah. You got to learn it with the School of Hard Knocks. I mean, I think back to any schooling I had around marketing or anything like that, because I am primarily a marketer. It just wasn't relevant to like what it takes to make sure, as I like to say, make sure you don't crash the plane. When you're the CEO of a business, people always ask me this. They go, hey, how's business? I'm 8 years into this one. And I say, well, we haven't crashed the plane yet.
Exactly.
Like we got to stay in the game. Like we're good to go. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that whole time thing. I mean, I think there is this misnomer out there that, you own your own business, you're going to make your own hours and all those things. The reality is when we own our own business, we trade in our boss. Like if we went from employee to employer, we're always going to have, if you're creating value for others, you're always going to have a relationship with them. You're always going to have something that you owe somebody, right? Whether it's your franchisees or your customers or your boss, like the fact that, hey, I'm on my own doesn't really mean that much. It probably means that you have a way more stressful life because you have way more stakeholders,
Exactly.
So let's talk about stakeholders. So you guys have, is that right? You have like 14 locations open and about 30 in the pipeline. And is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
So what's going on there? It sounds like you're at an inflection point. Did something cool happen that caused you guys to kind of ratchet up?
Yeah. So 2020, we ended up partnering with Loyalty Brands. And they're a brand that's done this before. They've taken other brands and basically incubated them and made them expand rapidly.
Yep.
And, I'll be honest with you, from 2017 to 2019, we faked it till we made it. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were trying, we were learning, we were giving it 150%, but there was a lot we didn't know.
Yeah.
And once we partnered with them, they knew a lot of what we didn't know, and they were able to explain things and show us things and calm us down in a lot of areas where we wanted to rush the process. Like where we're like, oh, we're doing horrible, we're not there. And they're like, you're on year 2 and you sold 6. That's better than, most franchises.
Yes, it is.
So there was a lot of, learning that went on. And I would say over the last 8 to 9 months, we're starting to get that momentum. They implemented with us an AR system, an area developer, area representative model, which is why we have 30 more locations sold and open.
Yep.
And we started, targeting areas like Jersey and Florida where we're starting to, come together now. So we have, a nice stronghold in Florida now, and we have 2 locations opening up in Jersey. So we're starting to get that momentum moving.
That's awesome. Do you guys have anything out on the West Coast, or like what's your footprint look like? Are you mostly out on the East Coast?
Primarily East Coast right now.
Cool. Do you have is national expansion on your radar? Or you guys get kind of yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're man.
Yeah. I mean, we want to be the biggest home inspection company within 10 years.
Okay, cool. That's a big one, man. You got to have those big, hairy, audacious goals. And I love that.
That's it.
Yeah. So, let's talk more about your relationship with legacy brands. Cause our target audience is emerging franchisors. And a lot of times, if I think back to when we bought our company, our franchise system. Yeah. I had some experience, very much so, because I had been with a bigger franchisor, but really we had to figure most of that stuff out ourselves. It's a lot different when you're in a big company. And then when you go buy one and you've got 2 partners, you're like, all right, what lever do we flip next? So you seek out mentorship to a certain degree, right? Because you're like, hey, I'm kind of sick of trying to fake it. And it's exhausting. It really is like tap dancing. It's exhausting. And put some guardrails and a roadmap together for your organization. Is that kind of what you guys have done when partnership with loyalty brands is basically built a roadmap that you guys can adhere to?
Yeah, I mean, they are able to tell us if we're going in the right direction or the wrong direction. Mm-hmm. And again, since we don't know or we didn't know certain things, we would panic.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're failing. Oh my God, we're not doing this right. And, sometimes they'd be like, hey, take a back seat, slow down. You're doing fine. You're doing the right thing. The process is in place. What happened to us was, when we started, we wanted to do everything right. Yeah. So we went out and we hired this person to do marketing. We hired this person to do sales, and they all overpromise and underdeliver. Mm-hmm. The marketing team's going to get us all of these great leads for X amount of money, and the sales guy's going to close, 90% of the leads for this amount of money, and a year later, and we spent, X amount of money where, there's no money in the account and they close 0 leads. And we're like, okay, now we're back at square one. What do we do?
Right.
And we try to redo it. Year number 2, we go to a different plan and same thing happens. Right. So it was, that learning curve that I guess everybody goes through. And, some people get lucky and find the little niche, and some people don't. And, when we went to loyalty, they were able to, kind of say, okay, let's, take a step back, and this is what's worked before. What you were doing wasn't not going to work, but, the odds are, if you get 100 leads, you're only going to sell maybe 1.
Right.
So whoever was telling you you're going to sell 80% of them was lying, so it was like, okay, we weren't doing as bad as we thought we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can introduce me as somebody who closes 80% of any leads, please let me know who that person is. Yeah. So did you hire these people internally? Like when you said you had a salesperson, these were internal resources, or were you outsourcing sales and marketing?
We outsourced.
You outsourced. Yeah. So you just kind of tried to scale up too quick, maybe, right? And maybe found some partners that weren't able to deliver upon their promises.
Well, you know what it was? The old saying, we were working in the business, not on the business.
Yeah.
So we were, doing home inspections, teaching the school. So our thought process was like, let's hire the sales team. Let's hire, the marketing team. And if they could do all of that, the franchise will sell itself. And then we could do the teaching later. And, it didn't work.
Didn't work. But hey, you know what? You learn by failed experiments what works. Let's do more of that. And any failed experiments, let's just not do that anymore. So lean iteration. I want to go back to your education component because so do you still have your school where you train inspectors?
We do.
That's beautiful. Is that just like is that a local model, or are you doing that? Like, is it virtual? Like, how's it work?
So right now it's local.
Okay.
It is evolving. So, right now we have a New York license. So we teach in New York. But what happened was we ended up buying a building in New York to bring everything in house. Mm-hmm. And we ended up getting the real estate license to teach real estate.
Is that why you have CE classes, free CE classes on your website? I think that's because education as marketing is one of the greatest methodologies out there, in my opinion.
Exactly. So what's happening now is we're able to get the real estate agents in here. We do their continuing education and we get the home inspections from them. And, the school's evolving, and now we're trying to take the whole thing and go national with it. So the first place we're going was Florida. And of course, Florida and New York are opposites. In New York, you have to be you can't be a licensed real estate agent to have a school. In Florida, you have to be. So we have to, play the game. Mm-hmm. But it's evolving pretty fast. Where, that's only on year 2.
Yeah.
And, the school is great because, again, it keeps us in the industry. It keeps us locked in. We get to see the new technology. Mm-hmm. Every time a student comes in, they're like, hey, this new app is out. Did you check it out? I get to look at it firsthand before, it's really out there.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Like, if you can have your, educational component that's open to everybody is in your industry, and you can be like that procuring reason why those people are getting together. I mean, naturally, you're probably going to attract franchisees, but also it really just helps build your brand. If you are wanting to go national, the more ways that you can get your brand in front of even your industry peers is a really, really phenomenal way to build your brand over time. So I love it, man. I love it. So a couple of educational components, educating as not only a service to get deal flow from your agents and have a relationship with them, which is super smart. Because I'm guessing, like, what percentage of your opportunities come as a result of just a real estate transaction? Is it like 95% or more?
Probably 80%. Okay. It's a big percentage.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The other 20%, if somebody's not buying real estate, why do they get a inspection? They've had maybe some, water damage or something like that.
Water damage, asbestos.
Radon.
Some people are radon. Some people are proactive. Mm-hmm. But when I said real estate agents, some come from online searches rather than directly from an agent.
Cool. So we got the Eastern Seaboard. We want to go out west. We've got a couple of educational components. We've got a relationship with some mentors. Like, what's next, man? It feels like you're sitting here on like a powder keg of momentum that's just kind of waiting to explode. Do you feel like that yourself, or is that just?
I do.
Yeah. It's like you've done a lot of hard work. You've made a lot of mistakes. You've done some right things. Like, what do you think the future holds the next couple of years for you guys?
So again, I'm going to backtrack a little bit on Loyalty Brands. So the founder of Loyalty Brands is John Hewitt. Mm-hmm. He started Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, Liberty Tax Service, and his goal is really to bring different industries together and almost have different verticals that live off each other.
Okay.
So the future is really, so we have a tax business, they have an insurance business. Mm-hmm. They're going to start a real estate business. They're going to start a home inspection, all franchises.
Yep.
And you're going to have the verticals that all live off of each other and kind of make their own, ecosystem.
Yeah.
So I want to say in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to start being lived out. Here in New York, we are like the forerunners at it.
Yeah.
We bought the tax franchise here. We're opening up the first one.
Cool.
In the building. We bought a couple of other franchises, Johnson's franchise. We bought a dog grooming. So the goal is to, get all the customers using everything inside the family.
Yeah. So you've got other businesses outside of this, but that are falling under Loyalty Brands umbrella.
Exactly. All franchised. Once I learned how franchises work
mm-hmm.
and learned how the systems work.
Yep.
I fell in love, because again, it's a system thing. Like, if you follow the system, it works. Just follow the system.
Right. Don't try to get cute and go off script.
Exactly. Don't question the system. I'm real big on where, this is the system. Let's follow it. And then if it doesn't work, then we could question it. But right now, this is the system. Let's go for it.
Yeah. I love that too, because when we think about serving as a franchisor, right? We're a source of resources for the people who have chosen to join us in our mission. But you're even going to have more credibility because sometimes we have to resell ourselves to our franchisees, right? As a matter of fact, I think we have to kind of earn our keep every day through our actions and being of service to folks. But when you're also a franchisee, you can be like, hey, no, like I'm following the roadmap and look at my results in this business. Please follow the roadmap that we've outlined in our business so that you can benefit from the same thing. I love that. I love that from you from a credibility perspective as a CEO. Like that just gives you more authenticity, right? Because I think that, sometimes there's this perception, and I actually have this as like a solo episode I want to do about, the franchisees a lot of times are saying to the franchisors, what have you done for me recently? Like, what have you done to make my life easier and all these things? And I think that sometimes they think that, we're not leaning into it and caring as much and all those things. And it couldn't be further from the truth. If they visited, a support center, home office, resource center, whatever you want to call it, in a day when we weren't expecting them, they would see that everybody is just hustling to make things happen for them. Now, it might be messy, right? But it's not like you're just sitting around and taking the royalty checks and going off on, cruises and all this stuff. Like your team is hustling. And so I think that really adds to your story of being a franchisee as well as a franchisor.
It definitely does. And you get to see how other franchises do it.
Yeah.
You get to see what's working for them. So sometimes we're adapting, we're looking at it. All right, this is how they're handling their social media. Maybe we should switch it up a little bit. Like we're not getting good traction on this, but they are. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a good learning experience for me on all ends.
I love it. So if people want to learn more about the Inspection Boys, maybe they want to talk to you, like what is the best way that they can go learn more about your organization?
So if they want to learn about the Inspection Boys, the best way is just to go online, type in the Inspection Boys. Our website pops right up. Any one of the contact links on that comes right back to me.
Come see you, the head cheese.
That's it. Yeah, I get everything. If they want to learn more about Loyalty Brands and the other brands that we're involved in, then they will go Loyalty Brands and they could see the other 10 verticals we have.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, man. I deeply appreciate you taking some time out of your day to visit with us. I love the fact that you are a franchisee as well as a franchisor. Like, I just think that's really, really cool, but within the same brand of or same family of brands, right? So thanks for joining us today. I deeply appreciate it.
No, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's show, I just have 2 asks for you. Number 1, Matt's episode is awesome. And if you feel like one person that would benefit from hearing his story, just go ahead and share this episode right now with that person. Text it to them. Number 2, if you could hit subscribe, if you found value overall in Franchise My Business show, I would be eternally grateful. Until next time, we wish you the well and have a phenomenal day.